Ladies and gentlemen, Peak has returned. The wielder of the Omnitrix, hero of the hybrid war, conqueror of Vilgax, savior of the universe. Okay, that's too much glaze, even for me. But it's safe to say that the #1 young child hero in the West from my generation is back. So how would he fare off against my favorite top dog of the East from that era? Sup folks, Robot here, and I'm honestly glad we're getting more Ben 10 content so long after Omniverse, as it's genuinely one of my favorite pieces of media ever. With that said, in the spirit, I wanted to pitch a matchup between him and Naruto, being as it's one of my favorite anime, and there's a number of similarities between the two, especially the versions of the two I want to use for this hypothetical. For starters, I'll be using Ben at the end of Season 1, and Naruto just after the Search for Tsunade arc. There's a whole host of similarities for both at this point in their stories. Along with their companions, they'd both defeated who would be recurring villains in their shows, who kinda get less impressive in later appearances. They'd confronted their now rival and future best friend, and had started learning under their elder mentor, who turns out is a legendary hero, and was keeping a lot of things secret from them. There's a number of other ones I can make, but you kinda get the point. So let's not waste any more time and get into the hypothetical. Normally I draw out or edit manga/comic panels to describe the whole fight, but since this is classic Ben, who doesn't have master control, or at least the quick change feature, he could generally get one of the first 10 aliens when he slams the dial, and will be kinda dishonest for me to run the entire scenario, assuming he gets the best aliens, and not obviously the badly matched up ones.
The muscle to stop this thing! 4 arms of muscle!
Greymatter? I said muscle, not minuscule.
So instead, I'll go over 10 scenarios, each one corresponding to each one of Ben's first 10 aliens, assuming that's the one he gets. I'll go over the relevant scaling and hacks interactions for each one as it comes up, and then afterwards I'll tally up the results and the one who gets more wins. Starting off, I can't get the image of this fight just being a replica of Naruto vs Kiba during the tuning exams. It's mostly because both characters are largely physical fighters, just using fists, teeth and claws, and strength/AP wise they aren't too far off apart. You have things like Naruto stonewalling one of Orochimaru's giant snake summons, or being somewhat comparable to Base Rock Lee, who walks around with 10-ton weights, whereas Wildmutt has been capable of manhandling Limax clones, which could toss cars, 1v3ing the circus freaks, who all fought or have notable super strength feats, or being capable of tangoing with an exosuit, which could make someone strong enough to lift multi-ton weights. The main issue is that Wildmutt doesn't really have much past his physicals, whereas Naruto can make anywhere from like 4 to a dozen equally strong clones, potentially a lot more if he gets enraged into access Nine-Tails chakra, plus the Rasengan. Nothing stops him from just ganging up on him and pummeling him. But funnily enough, much like how I said I'd just see Akiba vs Naruto for this fight, I could actually see Naruto winning by farting in Wildmutt's nose, and I'd argue his is even more sensitive than Kiba's. Anyways, Naruto takes the dub, so 1 point for him. Okay, this one requires addressing the AP of both properly, as forearms is arguably the heaviest hitter of Ben's original 10, certainly physically. Let's go over Naruto's first because there's some things I need to address. His hardest hitting technique is his Rasengan, but exactly how powerful is it? It's strong enough to put down Kabuto, who back then was comparable to Kakashi. That should place it somewhere in the city to mountain level ranges, considering that people who physically contend with Kakashi could tank or at least survive being hit by attacks of such level. You have things like Zabuza surviving Kakashi's Water Dragon Jutsu, and the latter of whom's water style could match lower skill water attacks from Kisame. You also have Base Guy, who's Kakashi's rival and basically is equal in base, being capable of knocking back Kisame, so it isn't some massive outlier. Now obviously Kisame had to have gotten stronger over the time skip, considering he was uncertain of fighting Jiraiya alongside Itachi, which frankly makes little sense, since Itachi low-diffed Orochimaru, who's on Jiraiya's level, and Kisame knows that. But he was willing to scrap with B, who's definitely stronger, argue with rocks if you think he's below the Sanin in 2026. That said, I generally do agree with you, but he had to be somewhat close to his Shippuden levels, considering he was allowed into the Akatsuki, and the baseline for them is being able to fight Jinchuriki. Even as a last resort, we know he should be baseline comparable to Hidan, who he generally acknowledges the weakest in the Akatsuki, who can survive a blast from Kakuzu's Wind Heart, which should be comparable to his False Darkness, which Kakashi required 2 Raikiri to cancel out. Now while part of that was his immortality, we know his durability had a part to play, as we know he can still be splattered even with it. So yeah, going down the chain, you have Kakashi level being capable of taking such attacks physically. Now not to say they aren't damaged, but they can survive it. especially if on guard. Also, the counter-argument of Jiraiya's Odama Rasengan carving mountains means Naruto's baseline Rasengan can't reach those levels doesn't work if you actually read the statement. The attack and carved mountains wording should mostly be in reference to his size and AoE. Rasengans aren't Biju bombs which create massive explosions. Plus, we know Jiraiya's Rasengan should be much stronger than mountain level, cause Sage Naruto, who while stronger isn't in a different tier to Jiraiya, could blow back Kurama with like a dozen of them, and Kurama and the other Biju can tank their own small to mid-sized Biju bombs. Sorry for the excessive detail I went into there to validate my points, it's just that the last time I made similar claims in scaling, and I didn't get into the nitty gritty to ensure I was very clear, I had comments to people fucking bringing up things I addressed in the video. But don't worry, I'll be less granular with regards to Ben 10's AP scaling. When you delve into Forearm's AP, you actually find out that he's in too far off Naruto's. His punches should be in the city to mountain level ranges, based on multitudes of feats, like him generally scaling over standard plumber equipment rifles, which have
This is a top-of-the-line Mark 12 Tekidorian Multiblaster. It is capable of delivering a maximum energy burst of 3 petawatts.
scaling above Diamondhead, who could damage Vilgax's drones, which could survive a crash land from space to Earth, and scaling above Heatblast, who could generate enough heat to evaporate a giant water monster and clear a thunderstorm at the same time. Also, I probably should address it, but some of you well versed in power scaling for both these series might point out higher level scaling for these guys, some of which yes I do agree with, it's just that the number of those don't apply for the specific versions of Ben and Naruto I'm using. We know that Ben's aliens get stronger as they age, and he also gets better at using them when he's older, so I can't use feats like scaling Forearms to Luma to Humongousaur to start getting into that island to country level scaling. Similarly, Naruto gets stronger over the time skip to become a lot closer to the Jonin level characters like Asuma, Base Kakashi, and Guy, plus some of those Jonin characters also get notably stronger, so some part 1 statements don't carry over. You're not gonna say part 1 Kabuto should scale to War Kakashi because of the Orochimaru statement. So yeah, I stuck to calculable feats that apply directly to those versions of the characters consistently. Now that I've pissed off both sides, who wins this round? I largely have Forearm sweeping here. The main thing that does it is his durability. He's capable of withstanding blows from characters who can match his own AP, whereas Naruto can't take the output of his Rasengan or similar level attacks. Now I wouldn't say he's a glass cannon, because he's still physically very powerful, it's just not on that level to match that kind of power. I can imagine be back and forth with Naruto using his clones to swarm Ben, who'll be swatting them away, all while he'll be charging up his Rasengan. Ben should be capable of taking the hit, it'll damage him for sure, but he'll live, and he'll handle Naruto and his remaining clones afterwards. Ben takes it low def. The classic Brains vs Brawn matchup. Now in a story setting, I could actually see Greymatter being capable of capitalizing on the situation, environment, and other things to outsmart Naruto and take the win. He, like Naruto, has the unpredictable, off-the-cuff aspect to his fighting style, combined with godlike intellect, so he'd be more than capable of out-Narutoing Naruto. But that would only be if I was setting everything up like in a narrative for Ben to win. In an actual fight where I'm not puppeteering both guys, Greymatter actually has no chance. Yes, he's really smart, but Shikamaru lost to Temari and to Yuya despite being smarter than both. Heck, even in Boruto, Amado is the smartest guy around, but he's not beating Boruto, Kawaki, or those hideous tree niggas. So yeah, this is a Naruto negative diff. Now it's time to address speed scaling. If you've watched any 6 or long video going over how does character X doing the Chunin exams, shout out to those guys. You know the general standard is to scale Naruto and some of the other Genin top tiers to base Lee, possibly first gate Lee's speed. And that comes out to like Mach 100 based off Lee blitzing Gaara's Sand Shield, which could block explosions point blank, and the first gate is like a 5 times buff. But I only mark that down as their movement speed for the most part. If you've watched my previous video, shameless plug, I went over how I generally categorize speed into movement, perception, and reaction speeds. Now I personally have always found it crazy in the fandom that we have the Genin level characters from part 1 at hypersonic to massively hypersonic by leeching off base and gated Lee, and the Jonin level characters pre-war arc, which are basically all the relevant characters in Shippuden, as basically approaching or exceeding those sub-relativistic levels by facing Akatsuki members who can contend with Biju, and all have some ties to light speed attacks or the Raikage, etc, etc. Do you believe that Naruto, Lee, Neji, heck even Sakura all got hundreds of times faster with the time skip to ride off the start of Shippuden, be capable of reacting and perceiving those levels of speeds, and couple that with things like Naruto's improvement over that time being considered too little, they had to pick it up again. To remedy this, I've generally always attributed the lightning to sub-rel scaling for Jonin top tiers to reaction speeds, and had the Genin even all the way back in part 1 being obviously slower, but not like a million miles off. I mean, we have things like Kid Naruto literally blocking a stab from Kakashi level Kabuto, and then tagging him with his Rasengan. Yes, he caught him off guard, but if it was like hundreds of times slower, then it wouldn't matter because he'd be moving in slow motion compared to Kabuto. Also, if we consider Konohama comparable to part 1 Naruto and Co, he doesn't get insta-blitzed by a Path of Pain. Plus, if you want quantifiable on-panel examples, you can pull up Neji reacting to Kidomaru's lightning speed arrows via the data books. In all, I have Naruto like hypersonic in movement speed, and somewhat lightning timer level in perception and reaction. That said, accelerate blitzes and one-shots. Lightning timing, which no doubt some people in the comments aren't gonna like that I gave to Naruto, doesn't really change anything. We have 10-year-old Gwen capable of dodging lightning, and accelerate is so much faster than her to the point that he can move so fast that she and others can't perceive him. Even if you think that's like an outlier for some reason, he straight up danced through lightning and lasers on screen. It's frankly not even close. So another point for Ben. This is where we can start addressing a bit more of the hacks Ben's aliens bring to the table, is what I would say if Naruto didn't exist in his fucking anachronistic time period. Slight tangent, but they have like earpieces and TVs, but no cars and computers. I specifically mention inventions which aren't military focused, because they might not have been invented, because like ninjas already filled that role. But for your everyday folk, I'm pretty sure cars would be more useful in transporting people as opposed to like walking. Anyways, Upgrade's technopathic abilities are largely useless against Naruto. Maybe in the Boruto times with androids and scientific ninja tools it'd be different, but no dice here. That said, he does have other means of fighting, like shaping his body to form hammers, maces, and spikes. Plus his laser is virtually unblockable to Naruto considering its speed. And yes, I know I just gassed up his speed scaling, but it's still well off light speed. I mean, just look at the Haku fight again. Whereas for Naruto, it's more of the same, just use clone feints and land a Rasengan. Now I initially gave it the upgrade because his ability to reshape himself is almost Suigetsu-esque, so he could slip out of taijutsu exchanges from Naruto, possibly even pull himself back together if he gets splattered by a Rasengan. Albeit there probably should be an upper limit to that, and his laser would snipe Naruto for the W. But his laser is kind of fucking featless. The best thing I can think it did was stunning Dr. Victor, and I don't think that'll put Naruto down in one shot. And now it hasn't come up in previous rounds, but the longer the fight goes on, the higher the chances are of Naruto getting enraged enough to access Nine-Tails chakra, and with that, power-wise he's on a whole different level. This is the closest one so far. I think it's really close, but I edge it just to upgrade. He's pseudo-immune to physical attacks and has a can't-miss attack. If it plays it smart, he could hit him with the laser enough times before he could tap into the Nine-Tails chakra. So Ben takes this one. I'd probably say extreme diff. Fun fact, Diamondhead is the only alien to have showed up as a transformation in all 4 series, and much like Ben's go-to for classic forearms, I think he has the advantage in this fight. That said, it's not a blowout, because like I mentioned, I'm not using later feats, because he gets stronger in later series. I mean, he goes from literally shattering himself trying to hit Vilgax, to literally decking him into the ground. He's not too far off from forearms in terms of AP, and has other facets to his combat, like making constructs such as shields, blades, projectile spikes, and general environment control. He's basically like a Crystal Kimimaro, and frankly I don't think Naruto can beat someone of that caliber till you start using his Final Valley versions, where he's tapped into the Kyuubi's chakra. I see Diamondhead swatting away clones, and even if he gets swarmed, he can turn his body into a spine field to pop any clones, and then he restrain or imprison Naruto in Crystal for the win. So Ripjaws' AP from his bite is actually pretty strong, and I can't even BS this one, Naruto dog walks here. I'm not even one of those guys that hates Ripjaws or anything, but does he have any valid win cons that aren't the fight takes place at the bottom of a lake? And that might not even be the instant W for him, cause Naruto characters can walk on water, so if Naruto makes it to the surface, he's fucked. And if the fight takes place on land, Naruto doesn't even have to engage him, he can just stall till he starts asphyxiating from the lack of water. Easy Naruto W. I actually thought this would be an interesting one, cause Stinkfly doesn't have much by means of attack, but he's also more than capable of evading Naruto's attacks and staying out of reach, because he can fly, and Naruto doesn't really have any ranged jutsu. But then, when I was rereading Naruto fights for the video, I noticed that he was using clones to launch himself all the way back then, and he could also make a ladder of clones to hit airborne targets. I thought that was just an anime exclusive. That effectively takes out Stinkfly's only real advantage in this fight. Sure, he can dodge tackles and clone tosses, but eventually he'll get tagged, and he doesn't have much to deal damage or at least counterattack with. His goo isn't gonna hold down Naruto, at most he'll just gross him out, but he's faced or at least even done similar nasty stuff without losing resolve. Naruto takes this one. This is the one where I can actually finally talk about hacks, because that's basically Ghost Freak's entire shtick. For starters, Naruto's attacks are basically all pointless, as he can phase through all of them. Plus he can also turn invisible, and Naruto doesn't have any enhanced sentry abilities like a Sharingan or Byakugan, or even enhanced smell or something to possibly counter, so he's basically a sitting duck. The real thing is, how does Ghost Freak finish the fight? Initially you'd think you just possess him and finish it, but I'd actually argue that Nine Tails prevents this. We see in Omniverse that two people sharing a body provides an obstacle to possession, as the Scare, a much more experienced Ectoneurite, had to wrestle with King Zarion inside Dr. Victor. And in this case, Ben is less skilled than Scare, and Kurama is significantly stronger than King Zarion. That said, Ben doesn't have to possess Naruto to take advantage of his ghost abilities. He can just run the phase through and attack the internals he did before, although that was a bit from the influence of Scare, but it's still something he can do. And we know from the explanation with the Gentle Fist that you can't train your internals, so this is just free real estate. Honestly, this was probably the most one-sided. Actually no wait, yeah, the Greymatter matchup was worse, but this is a close second. Finally, the poster boy of the franchise itself. This one's actually an interesting fight, being that they both have ways around each other's abilities, and it's not an instant stat diff. In Naruto's corner, he has the AP via Rasengan to damage, and potentially even put Ben down. His clones can be used as human shields to block Ben's wide sprays of fire, plus this is a close enough fight where he'll get the chance to use them offensively to set up diversions, and even use the environments like attacking from underground. And if it goes on long enough, I could see him getting into like a Kaian Zero mode or something, and actually getting him some second wind by healing some of his burns and amping his stats. Whereas for Heatblast, he not only has the AP to certifiably put Naruto down should he land clean, he also has massive AoE to prevent being jumped by Naruto's clones, plus he has the guile and experience in also using the environment to trap and slow down his opponents. Finally, I think his greatest edge is that he can fly. While I did mention in the Stinkfly section, that isn't an instant win button against Naruto, but that combined with all the other things he has going for him swings the fight heavily in his favor, and for what it's worth, he's also a lot faster mid-air than Stinkfly, so tagging him is even harder. So if it came down to it, I think Ben takes this mid to high diff. So overall, that comes out to a 6 out of 10 win for Ben. At best you can give it as a draw if you think Naruto would win the upgrade matchup, but what do you guys think? If enough guys are into it, I'm down to do another part with the other classic aliens, or do a version with classic Ben with the master control, so I can actually script out a single fight for it. Okay, for those who stuck around for this section, have you guys read the first issue of the Dynamite run? I personally think it was alright. Okay, that's been a bit mean. Let's get out some of the positives first. I'm gassed Ben 10 is back, and the art looks awesome for the most part, some exceptions here and there. But world building wise, I also love the military is kind of involved, as it brings up new and different plot lines which we can explore. I also love the Colonel Zone cameo, shout out Prisoner 775. I think my negatives really come from the expectation. I was almost imagining I'll get like a recreation of the first episode while adding more details. But now I think it'll get a bit bloated to fit all of that into one issue. The other one is a bit minor and more personal, but I didn't like the transformations lasting like 10 seconds. I swear the forearms transformation lasted like 2 pages. My best guess is that they did it because they wanted to get to show more than one transformation in the first issue, but I would have been fine with just one. Anyways, I'm still excited to see more, and I actually can't wait for the next issue. What do you guys think about the first issue as well? But that's enough of my rambling. See you guys, peace out.